People who worked in restaurants. What was the worst customer that you had to deal with? We called him Big Red. He always wore a 3XXXL red shirt and would come in by public transportation as soon as we opened on Unlimited Rib Day. He would bring in his 64 ounces big cup and request we fill it with our soda because we couldn't keep up with his refill needs with average cups. We would fill this cup 3 to 4 times. He would proceed to gorge himself on ribs over 2 to 3 hours. He would usually stop for a one-time 30-minute shit break in the middle of it. He smelled like rancid ass. Looked just as bad. I don't think he was employed and he never tipped. It was a rite of passage for new servers to have to take him. This was 2007. I doubt he is still alive. Work in a place that is frequented by local families and youth sports teams. On Sundays, this one large group of people always come in and they are the worst. The parents drink and ignore their preteens who run around playing games in the entire restaurant, disrupting everyone else. They have tried to walk in a party of 45 during end-of-year sports party season when we are booked solid, and get mad that there isn't enough space for them. And they modify everything like crazy and leave 0 in a tip. It's at least once a month the entire group comes in. And weekly for some of the individual families. This is the reason many restaurants have an automatic gratuity on parties above a certain size. One large party can steal a server's entire evening and having them not tip is painful. This one guy who basically hated his order so much that he waved me over and told me to put my hand out and proceeded to spit out entirely what was in his mouth into my hand, then tell me to refund him and then make him something else. Jesus. That seems pretty illegal. Hope you threw his nasty ass out. Spitting on people is illegal. It counts as assault. I worked in a popular restaurant for a while. We usually have quite a long wait during dinner service and people are told by the hosts about this. There was this lady that got fed up with the wait after 10 minutes. She stormed into the restaurant, stood next to a table of 4 people and literally asked them, "Are you guys done? We've been waiting for a long time now and would like to have the table if you guys are just chatting." I was completely mind blown how people are able to not give a fuck and pull something like this in public. What did the table say? Needless to say, the table just stood there with its 4 legs. At the end of a wedding at our facility, we were cleaning and I began the cleaning process on our espresso machine. The wedding was over almost a half hour already. The process takes 12 minutes. People were still there as the party slowly let out and the father of the bride asks me for an espresso. I told him I could get it to him, as we have a strict policy of always trying to satisfy a guest's needs, but the machine was cleaning and it would be done in about 10 minutes. He begins ranting about how much he paid for the wedding and stormed to our banquets manager and told them I refused to make it for him. Manager is a douchebag and starts ripping me in front of the guy. I show both of them that the machine is just finishing the cleaning process and it was impossible to make it beforehand. I got suspended for 2 weeks. A homeless guy who came in, actively dripping of blood from his hands, and started screaming at me and threatening me because I wouldn't give him a bakery case item without him paying. He was dripping blood all over the counter and spitting everywhere until I threatened to call the cops. A huge group of clearly rich kids who came in, stole a bunch of drinks, and left the dining room trashed. A guy who demanded I take money from our tip jar to help him pay for his order and argued with me when I said no. People who would place large orders, or even take home a cake and eat half of it, then flip their shit and demand a refund when they'd find out it was all vegan, even though that fact was well advertised. A customer ordered one of our daily specials and didn't like it, so instead of complaining to me about the food and letting me offer something else, she complained to my manager about me. This was May of last year. In August of last year, turns out she was one of my college professors for the semester, teaching a management course. She recognized me the first day but I played it off like I didn't know her. I had a similar experience. I served a couple once and we got along really well, no complaints about anything. I ran the guy's card and it declined. I told my manager, and when he went to talk to them, they told him that I was a horrible server and treated them like shit. They left me a penny. Our bar was having a private party. A drunk dude walks in and orders a drink. I knew he wasn't with the party based on his attire and that he came in every so often. I told him I couldn't get him a drink. He lost his mind, told me to fuck off, and then wanted to fight me. On his way out he yelled that we should put up signs, as he walked by the signs on the door saying we were closed for a private event. He came in the next day sober and apologized. My friend works at restaurant. A vlogger was shooting a video, and since it was allowed within the place, nobody troubled her. Apparently she wanted one of those clickbait thumbnails, so she asked my friend to place his face in her breast while she squirted ketchup on herself. My friend refused as he was in a relationship, but some other employee agreed to do so. After they shot the thumbnail, she marched in the next day claiming sexual assault. I don't know what happened after that, but it did not turn out good for the liar. I hate the vlogger already and I don't know them. They had me at the word vlogger. Any table that mentioned the tip at all. Don't worry, we tip well. If you do X, we'll tip big, we'll take care of you. Holding the tip over my head doesn't get you better service, you get the same everyone else does. They were always pretentious and rude and never tipped well. Bartending in a restaurant a few years ago. There was a private party and one of the guests asked me to plug in his iPhone to listen to a song. No big deal. I did it and he tipped me $20. He left his phone behind the bar and got wasted. When he was leaving I said, "Sir, don't forget about your phone." He threw a beer on me and told me to leave him the fuck alone and told me get a real job. Guess who got to keep a nice new iPhone? We had someone do a runner once and they left their phone. Reasonably expensive one, although this was over 10 years ago, so I can't remember if they were as much as they are now. He sheepishly came back the next day asking if one had been handed in. Our boss said no and kept the phone. This old guy who asked if I was included in the order, I'm 17. This happened to me when I was about that age. Some guy asked if I was on the dessert menu. I pretended so hard not to understand him that he actually got embarrassed, left a generous tip, and politely left without another word. Fast food near a high school. The absolute worst were the moms. Had one who came in weekly and screamed about wrong orders or whatever complaint she could dream up so she could get free food for her entire family. Then you get the loser douches who think harassing employees is funny. The absolute worst customer was the owner of the franchise. He'd walk in, test employees, and then fire someone for some issues so minor it was likely just made up. The lady who wanted an extra hot, extra full, slightly foamy latte. Go fuck yourself, lady. I'm not handing you an extra hot, extra full beverage. Those two don't mix, and I know you're a lawyer. Fucking C-word. She wanted a lawsuit, I could feel it. I had a customer order the crab-crusted salmon. After about 30 minutes I brought out the food and the customer then decided to tell me that they couldn't eat it as they were allergic to crab and that they didn't read what the meal was. Both my manager and the chef were pretty pissed cause the customer then didn't want to pay for the meal. Used to work in an Indian restaurant in southern England. It was special forces training in enduring racism and bodily harm. My father, who worked with me, had his front teeth knocked out by a drunken customer. I saw a woman punched unconscious outside because she got into someone else's taxi. And you thought your shift at Olive Garden was bad. Who goes to an Indian restaurant and then proceeds to be racist to the Indians running the restaurant? It's probably not bad compared to other creepy customer experiences people have had, but I was 18 working at a golf club restaurant with a lot of snooty, elderly people. This one old guy came around the corner out of sight of the rest of his table and other customers. He took my hand in his, gave me a tip, complimented my looks, then kissed me on the cheek. I was very uncomfortable. It's not as drastic, but at my age, 50, I can remember when it was routine for men my dad's age to put hands on waitresses and to discuss how lovely they are, etc. It may not seem that times change, but they do.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Subscribe for more awesome audio content brought to you by Tales from Reddit.